Hey guys, welcome back to Real Talk with Carissa and Jason. Before you listen to this episode, go over to Instagram and please follow us at Carissa and Jason, and then hop straight over to YouTube and subscribe to us at Real Talk with Carissa and Jason. We appreciate your support and we hope you enjoy this episode. Hello everybody, welcome back to Real Talk with Carissa and Jason.
What up?
What's up? Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and coming back. You really didn't need to, but you're clearly some good friends that we don't deserve.
All three of you.
Yes, all three of you. We don't deserve you. Seriously though, thank you. And thank you for listening to our first episode where we went through our journey, how we got to the place we're at. If this is your first time tuning in, what we'll be talking about in all of these episodes is I think Jason has a really great way of explaining this, but basically how we live life, how our lives are amazing and have become amazing, and how...
No, you're right. I'm better than you.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Let me finish my sentence at least. I was going somewhere, okay?
Go ahead.
We're very appreciative of our lives. We think they're amazing. They weren't always like that. They became amazing. But we also think that an amazing life is available for everybody. And we just like sharing our lives. But here we go with Jason.
It wasn't bad.
Okay.
Mine's still better.
Okay,
though.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We're basically going to show you how we live the best life we've been given.
That's literally just what I said.
No, that is not what you said. Not even close.
Okay.
Yeah, not even close. And yours was like 1,000 more syllables than
Okay,
that.
all right.
Okay, carry on.
Oh, okay, so that was it.
That was it.
Living our best lives.
Living the best lives we've been given.
Okay.
Because we're not living our best life.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
Yeah, we're living the best life that we're given. Very important to understand.
Church organ, let's go. Yeah. Anyways, this week we wanted to discuss how this very strange and weird friendship formed, where we met each other and how we got to where we are today, making a podcast together, which I never expected in a million years.
Never.
And I'm sure you never expected it in a million years either. So, do you want to get started on maybe where we met, where we worked?
Yeah, but first, I want to... Okay, yeah, let's talk about where we met first. That's a good idea. So basically, we worked together in the corporate world. And we worked... So when we first met, we did not work directly together, but during, over time, we ended up working together where we would have to talk to each other every day, whether we wanted to or not. Before, we would just talk to each other because maybe we wanted to. So we didn't talk as much then.
So then, before you started working with me, what was your impression of me?
Honestly, I never really had an impression. I just thought you were just a quiet girl, and that's it. That's really my impression of you. Yeah.
Quiet is clearly far from it.
Oh no, I was dead wrong on that. Yeah. And you will all get to see that as well, but in a good way.
Thank you.
Yeah, in a good way. So anyway, when we started to work directly together, is when we started to talk a little bit more, and we got to know each other a little bit more. And I don't really remember exactly what started a conversation that brought us down this path. I don't remember what started that.
I can tell you what it is.
Oh, for real?
Yes.
Oh,
I can
okay.
tell you 3 moments.
Okay.
Because, so in this corporate world that we're at, Jason is one of those guys that, so I've never partied with Jason, but he just seems like that guy that's like the life of the party kind of person. Okay? So he's obviously not denying it. So he knows who he is. So...
I know how to have a good time.
Yes. So, in a very kind of bland corporate atmosphere, I was really lucky to sit beside one of our good friends, Anis, who is just a big ball of sunshine. Literally a big ball of sunshine. And Jason also kind of emulated that, where everywhere he walked, he came with a big smile and like a handful of jokes, and then would say his jokes and make people laugh and then leave.
Literally. That's exactly.
I think that was his hobby because he was bored with his actual job. So I just knew that everybody loved Jason. That was just how it went.
Oh, that's nice.
So not really me, just kidding. But while I'm at work, at this point, as Jason liked to explain it last week, you're doing God's work, right? Mm-hmm. At work, that's what I felt like I was doing. So anytime I had like trigger words, basically, like anytime I heard the word universe or God or Jesus or like atmosphere, like anything possible related to that, it was literally like I had like antennas that like stuck up out of my head anytime I heard a word like this, because obviously it's something I'm very passionate talking about, right? That's why we've created this whole thing.
You must have been very passionate about it because you had headphones on your ears the whole time.
Yes, okay, so that's what a lot of people knew about me at work. I had the giant Beats headphones, okay? They weren't even conspicuous, okay? I was literally telling people, don't talk to me. That was pretty much the message I was giving across. But I could kind of hear through these headphones. But, I guess I had some supernatural hearing if I ever heard one of those words. So one time, we all kind of sit in like a group. Jason comes along with his jokes and whatever story he's telling for the day. And he starts talking about the universe and using the word the universe. Mm. And immediately I threw off my headphones and I'm like, what's going on in this conversation? And Jason starts talking about how he, believes in a higher power. And immediately, like when I heard this, I was like, okay. So I felt like something inside of me like woke up, where I was like, I don't know where this is going to go or what's going to happen, but I know I was meant to hear this conversation. Especially like Jason said, I had my headphones on all the time. So I knew I was meant to hear that. So that was the first moment where I was like, I obviously did not expect it to end up coming here in this moment now. But when I heard that was the first moment that I knew, I'm like, okay, there's some kind of conversation that's going to be had in the future between us two. So.
All right. That's a good memory because I have no clue when that was. So.
Yeah, I know. It was probably like, before we really started talking, probably like a solid like 5 or 6 months before.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's when that happened. And then I guess maybe 5 or 6 months after, which was this year, 2020, that was the big moment, which I know you remember. You're just saying you forget. I don't know why.
Well, I remember this big moment you're talking. You rocked me.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
But my ears were already tuned up and waiting to have a conversation with you, but just waiting for, the right time for things to happen and whatever.
Yeah, clearly. I didn't know that. I didn't know that part of it. Because I do remember going over to the group where you are is over there and talking, and I remember periodically I would have a conversation around this, like, things happening for a reason, and there's this is just another way of saying it, but and things the way things are going, because if I remember correctly, in that environment wasn't necessarily the most positive environment.
No, so what you didn't know at that time was what I believed in, and also in that conversation was Noma, who believes in the same things as us. So what you didn't know was that we believed in the same things as you, but we had just never had that conversation.
Yes, 100%.
So
100%.
I could tell you were being very, very hesitant on the words you were saying and what exactly you were saying.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why I was hesitant.
So tell me why.
Because you can't just walk up to people you don't know and start talking about God this and God that, because people get freaked out over that word. When I was younger, I got freaked out over the word. Like, I didn't want to hear it. But if I heard the word God, I'm going the other way.
Yeah,
that's just the way it was. And even growing up, like with my friends and stuff, nobody talked about God. Nobody. I always had something in me that knew, that He was around, but I wouldn't talk about it then because we're drinking, we're smoking, we're having a good time. Yeah. I'm not bringing up God now.
So fire can come down and ruin your whole party.
Yeah, it's a buzzkill, So and in a corporate environment now, when you really got to watch what you say, because I'm not really one to watch what I say.
Yeah.
Actually, you're talking about me running jokes. The jokes that I would run were probably, you wouldn't normally talk like that in a corporate environment because HR is taking you to the office.
The word you are looking for is inappropriate.
Totally inappropriate. 99% of the time. But whatever, I felt comfortable around you guys, and it was good times. And we had to, I felt like I was supposed to make that office upbeat. I felt like I was the one that had to make everybody feel comfortable and at least want to come back to work the next day. That's kind of how I felt.
You know what? Yeah, I have to give it to you. You did do a good job at that. You definitely lightened whatever atmosphere you were in.
Yeah,
100%.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice words. And I felt that because aside from your group, I heard it from other people. My own team that I worked on, I heard it all the time. So, it was kind of a thing that I liked. I liked to do it. It was natural to me, and it was a necessity in my eyes.
Yeah.
But now, I go over there, I start talking about inappropriate stuff and stuff that can get me in trouble. But yet I have this deep love affair with God, and how do you bring that into the conversation now, right?
So in that first conversation, when you started saying that, I was really confused what you believed in, because you were being so hesitant, right? Mm-hmm. You were kind of scared of like, what can I say? What can I not? What will scare people away? What won't? So you kept saying, like, you never said the word God, but you said like the universe or the higher power, and you were making it seem like, the universe was speaking to you. And I'm like, so does he believe in God, or like how is the universe speaking to him? Like, I didn't know. I was confused, right? So I was literally just waiting for one day for the conversation to open. And literally your exact sentiments right now, like how you're kind of afraid, was literally the exact place I was in when our big conversation happened. So at this point, let's get into it now. Okay. When this big conversation happened between me and Jason, we're working together daily, like he said, whether we liked it or not. So
you're all right.
You were fine too. Right. So we're working together daily, right? So our work is very tight knit. So we go to each other's desks quite often to talk about work. But one day Jason comes to my desk and I'm telling him, I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna be like away for a little bit. I'm going on vacation.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yes.
So he says, oh, yes. Now he's remembering. I don't know how he forgot.
Yeah.
So, he says, well, where are you going? And that was my moment of, I'm afraid, because where I was going was Tulsa, Oklahoma, which my parents still refer to as Tucson, Arizona, because they absolutely have no idea what Tulsa, Oklahoma is.
Not many people
do. Yeah. So, I was literally afraid to say Tulsa, Oklahoma, because I knew what the question was going to come. Why are you going to Tulsa, Oklahoma? And the reason I was going was I was actually going to visit a church. I was going for this big event that they were having. And firstly, I was afraid because I didn't know how the conversation would go. And secondly, I was afraid that I was going to be looked at as this crazy girl that, flies on planes to go to a church, right? So when he asked me, where are you going? I was scared. Honestly, I had a moment where I was like, I can be bold or I can be not. And it took a lot in me to just be, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be bold. If Jason's going to think I'm weird, then he's going to think I'm weird. And then that's just going to be the end of that.
Well, I remember that I had to encourage you to do it. I remember being like, just tell me where you're going. Like, it's not a big deal.
I know, but it actually was a big deal. I know. So, I literally wanted to lie and be like, I'm going to Montreal, because I literally didn't want to get into the conversation. But, I was like, okay, well, God, you've called me to be bold. So, I had to like slap myself and like, stop it, Carissa, just say it. So I told him. And of course he asked, why are you going to Tulsa? And I told him. And I went online and I showed him like, where I was going and how like, the church I was visiting, Transformation Church, what is very much so for a lot of like young people and is very relatable, basically. And maybe Jason can explain his reaction to that, because I expected him to just, he's not a judgmental person to begin with. So I just expected him to be like, oh, okay, like, cool, moving on.
And then bounce.
Like literally, like that's all I thought was going to happen from the conversation. And then Jason says, I'm actually way more into this stuff than you think. And I was like, okay.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah, I remember saying. I remember saying to you, "I'm into this a little bit more than you might realize." And there was another phrase that I used. I can't remember what it is. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's basically what you said. And I was like, so at that moment I realized, I'm like, okay, this was the conversation that I'd been waiting for a long time. And I was like, okay, well, what do you mean? And then maybe you can go on to explain what place you were at.
Yeah, so she's showing me online the church or whatnot, and immediately what got me was she's like, it's a church for young people. And in my mind, I'm like, for young people? So if you're young, you can go there. But I realized what she meant was the way the pastor, I guess, preaches. He preaches on a young person level. So that intrigued me immediately. Well, because, I'm young. I'm 45, but I'm young.
Yes.
But it intrigued me because, it was along the lines of the what I was battling internally, where my relationship with God was so different than what I'm seeing out there, and with my extended family, and how they worship. My relationship was very different than anything that I've ever seen out there. So I was questioning if my relationship was really a relationship. Not really questioning it, but questioning it. So when she told me that, that's what drew me into it. So I'm like, show me. She showed me. I saw it, and it was kind of cool, whatnot. So I'm like, yeah, you should go. And then I remember us having the conversation, and you're like, well, your mom doesn't want you to go. And I'm like, no, you got to go. Like,
yes. So the reason my mom didn't want me to go, not because she didn't want me to have the experience, but because I was getting married in the same year, right? So my mom has been very helpful and generous with my wedding. So she's just like, so you're about to go spend your money flying to America? Like, sis, you have a wedding to be paying for. What are you doing? But I just knew in my heart that I had to go. And trust me, I absolutely no regrets. That was one of the best decisions I ever made. But yeah, you were telling me, like, no, you have to go. And I was like, okay, what's about to happen in this conversation? So...
And then we even got into it because you started to tell me about the wedding you had to plan for, and that's what the concern was. And I'm like, listen, you already knew this, but we've never had a conversation like this before, so you didn't know what's coming out of my mouth. And I remember being like, that's going to work itself out. Like, you're going to Tulsa for this.
Yeah.
Trust me when I tell you that wedding stuff is going to work itself out no matter what.
Yeah.
So if you not going has to do with your wedding, bun that. You got to get on a plane and go to Tulsa.
So when Jason was saying all this, I reached a point where I was like, okay, so I think we think the same. I'm still confused at what this guy believes, but I'm pretty sure we think the same. So I felt more open to really discuss, like, okay, what I believe in and getting more deeper into that. But I don't know if you remember what you discussed, you started talking about basically your kind of transformation that happened. And you talked about, you're looking at me like you don't remember. You talked about how you basically like took control over your mind, and how everything that's happened to you has basically given you power over your mind, but has also like unlocked different parts of your mind. Do you remember this?
I don't remember. It sounds like something that I would say, but I don't remember it now. Okay.
So you went on a literal 45-minute rant.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I was talking about that for 2 hours.
Yeah. He was basically explaining, like, since he's been tight with God and stuff, how he feels like his mind has basically been like transformed in so many words. Like, that's what you said. Yeah. You felt like nothing necessarily changed, but like your mind completely changed, which therefore changed everything else. And how you've now basically have gotten control and power over your mind, and how that now is such a powerful tool, and how like your life has completely changed. Right? Does that sound like anything you wouldn't say?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Okay, so
1,000%. You actually probably say it a lot more eloquently than I probably said it.
Well, you said it similar to that. I have to give you credit. That's what you pretty much said. Is that but like 45 minutes long, basically. Is what he said. And I was just listening, and I was asking Jason, I was like, well, at this point, I'm just hella confused. I'm like, does he believe in Jesus? Like, I don't understand, right? And I'm like, what do you believe about the Bible? And you started telling me what you believed about it and your concerns about it and stuff. And I was like, okay. But what stood out to me was Jason's like journey about like his mind. And I gave him a Bible verse. I'm like, you know what? This sounds exactly like this verse in Romans 12 where it says, do not be conformed by this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
It's in my phone right now.
Yes.
In my notes. That verse is in my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I shared that verse with him because to me, that was exactly what you were embodying. You were saying, I'm literally not going to conform to this world around me. My mind is going to be transformed, and it already is transformed.
And that was another confirmation to me from last week's episode of I battled with, because I don't do it like everybody else, am I doing it incorrectly?
Yeah.
And at that time, I was going through that.
Yeah.
So then when you said that to me, I want to throw my phone.
Yeah.
So yes, it's all coming back to me now. It's all coming back.
Yeah. So I gave him this verse, and, you know, I shared like one of like the preachings with him, whatever. And, you know, that was the end of the conversation. And I was like, wow, okay. So, you know, like I went and I prayed about it, and I was just like, that was really cool. Like, you know, I was basically praying that, like, you know, that conversation was just not in vain, that something would happen from that there would be some kind of change in your life and my life or whatever, right?
Actually, you're missing something in the story.
Okay, what did I miss?
So, she touched on that I gave my opinion of the Bible. Let's just talk about that for a second.
Okay. Yeah, because I was talk about it now, and then we'll get into it again.
Yeah. But what I told her was, I said, I have a relationship with God like none other. Like, I am convinced that nobody has a relationship with God like I do, because everything in my life is perfect. Anything that I could desire, want, ask for, you know, in any form, it would happen because of this relationship that I have with God. He had never let me down. He had never said no. He never ignored me. He might have said no, but he said no for a very good reason, which was always revealed to me at some other point, but something else happened good. Anyway, I can keep going for another 45 minutes on that alone. But my opinion on the Bible was that I believed that a lot of the stuff in the Bible is God's word. And as a matter of fact, my opinion of the Bible hasn't even changed. It is what it is now. This is my opinion of the Bible now. And I could be wrong, and I'm continuously praying on it, and he hasn't told me differently yet. But my opinion of the Bible is that a lot of it is the Word of God. And it's the Word of God. He talks about the past. He talks about the present. He talks about the future. And in the present, we're actually seeing a lot of this stuff happen right now. But I also believe that I believe that some stuff in the Bible is man-made. I believe some stuff in the Bible was put in there by man to suit man's purpose at that time. And my reasoning for believing that is because, you know, the whole broken telephone thing, you know, I can't get past that. You know, somebody says something and it gets passed down, and exactly how it started is exactly how it goes in. I just have a hard time with that personally. And some of the stuff that's written actually, you know, I question it. I'll just leave it at that. I question some of the stuff. And like I said, I pray on it frequently today for it to be revealed to me. And then we talked about church.
Yeah.
And then we talked about my opinion of church.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't go to church. I don't like church. And I have my reasons why I don't like church. Not to say that it's a bad place, because it's obviously not. But I have an opinion of it, and I shared that with you as well.
Yeah. So what I liked at this point was that me and Jason were basically agreeing on everything the same, but totally opposite, because my opinion on the Bible is completely different than his. And I go to church and am very involved in church. But when he said these things, I was like, yep, all right. I was like, let's continue talking.
Yeah.
That was what was so interesting to me, as how we were on the same page, but we're in very strong disagreements on some pretty big things. So we discussed the Bible basically. And, you know, what you were saying that really hit me in the conversation. I'm glad you started talking about this because this reminded me of this topic. You basically said that why the conversation was so intriguing to you, why you started going on these 45-minute rants and stuff, was that you had been praying more. I don't remember your exact prayer, but it's basically like you were asking God to go deeper and how you could more so do his works. Yes. And how you could maybe learn more about him, right?
Your memory's awesome.
Because this moment meant so much to me.
Wow.
And you know why also? Is because right after it happened, I called Noma. Like, literally immediately after it happened, I'm like, you won't believe what just happened. So, you know, you were saying that basically this was your prayer to God, like, you know, how can you go deeper, how can you do more, how could you be more, whatever. And you said since you started praying that, you kept being guided to the Bible. And then I was just like I was like, and that was the point of the conversation where I was like, it's getting juicy, God, this is juicy right now. I was like, all right, so he's telling me this, and you know, I was like, oh, so
because for the record, my belief in the Bible was based on just a feeling. I'd never picked up a Bible, owned a Bible, opened a Bible up until January or February of this year, whenever it is you bought it for me. Yeah, just to put that out there.
So I knew that, like you had told me that, right? And I know what the Bible has done for me, what people refer to the Bible as it's the only book that reads you, right? And you know, he's saying all these things that, you know, he's putting up his good arguments like against the Bible, but to me, what canceled all of that was you saying, I keep being led to the Bible. And I was like, well, why do you think that is, Jason Sadler? So, at the end of this conversation, unless I'm missing anything else, I gave you the verse from Romans. I said, do not be conformed by this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's, to me, I gave that to him. I said, this to me, it seems like, you know, what you're really experiencing. And that conversation ended. And then you went to the gym that night.
Yeah, I remember this.
So maybe share that.
Yeah, so I go to the gym and do my workout. After the workout, I have a friend that's there, who I respect tremendously. Shout out Faiza. And randomly, I don't even know what I said to her. I said something to her, and she rhymed off that verse randomly. And I'm like, what did you say? And then she said the verse again. And I'm like, okay. I had a dumbbell in my hand. I threw the dumbbell. She's like, what's wrong? I go, I don't understand. I just had a conversation with Carissa at work, random conversation, and she rhymed off that verse, and now you're saying the verse to me right now, and I don't understand why. And
she's not like a self-proclaimed Christian or Bible reader, right?
She's Muslim. Okay, let's just put that out there. She's Muslim, right? But she, again, she believes in, you know, she believes, but we never really discussed it like that. But the point is that I'm being drawn to the Bible somehow through my family, you know. Shout out my family, Uncle Hardley, shout him out. He's one of my extended family members who he speaks to you through the Bible, and I was listening, you know, when I felt like listening, and then sometimes I would be drawn to something that he's posting or sending, and so I just felt like I was being drawn to the Bible. I was resisting it on purpose because I was so sure that my beliefs was my beliefs.
Yeah.
So because of that, I'm putting up a resistance because that's just what I've done my whole life.
You like to refuse things. Yeah.
Attitude problem, okay. You know. Authority with a problem with authority, all the whole 9 yards. So anyway, so I'm being drawn. Me and you have this conversation, which was an awesome conversation, and I remember like lightning bolts going through my body. It was amazing. And then I go to the gym, and then that happened. And all of this happened because I've been praying to God and asking him, I need to do more for you. Literally, my prayers to him for weeks up until that point was, look, we got a good thing going, and I appreciate everything you're doing. Thanks for your love. Thanks for answering all my prayers, but I want to do more for you now. And I'm ready to do more for you now. And use me in any way that you can use me or you want to use me. I'm open. My heart is open. My eyes are open. Show me, teach me, put people around me, give me circumstances, make it obvious, and let's go. And within days, if not a day, you and I have this conversation.
I can't deal. I just can't deal. So when you told me what happened at the gym the next day, I literally started sweating. I was like, what?
You're so drama.
Like, but I'm serious. Like, I really tried to keep myself composed for the sake of not looking crazy, but I really just wanted to wild out and jump and dance because I was like, are you kidding me right now? So you tell me that by the end of that day, or it was the next day, I think you had accepted that you needed to read the Bible because that's what was happening in your life.
Yeah. Oh, I remember now. So one of the reasons why I had never read a Bible, other than the reasons I already spoke about, was I don't understand it. Like, it's written in words that I just don't understand.
Yeah.
It's not written in the way I speak. I'm already not the most articulate person in the world.
I would disagree. But...
Well, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't understand the words of how it's written. Thou, shall, la, la, la. I don't get that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you told me about a version.
So the same problem that Jason has with, all the translations of the Bible, I said, well, it looks like, sir, this problem is working out in your favor because there's many modern day translations of the Bible, right? You don't just have to read the one that says thou and thee and thou'ts and whatever, right? So I'm not discounting your arguments, but it turns out God said haha to Jason.
LOL.
Yeah. And basically I told him, I'm like, well, there's actually a lot of really reliable modern day versions. I'll get it for you. And he's like, all right. And I went back to my desk sweating. I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now. And
I had a Bible on my desk in half an hour.
Okay. I do not waste time. I am not a person that likes to waste time, okay?
I had a Bible on my desk in a half hour.
This is what happened. As soon as he said he wanted a Bible, I went on Amazon and I was like, all right, let me go get a Bible. And then I was like,
First of all, I didn't say I wanted one.
Okay.
I said, okay, it's good to know that there is another version out there. And then I bounced.
No, that's not how it went. I said, I can get you a Bible if you want. And you said, oh yeah? Okay.
Right, you're right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
You're right.
So when he said, okay, yeah, I'll have a Bible, I was like, it's go time. So I literally go back to my desk. I'm literally sweating, out of breath. I'm like, can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. So I go on. At this time, it's February. It's the dead of winter, freezing, minus 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, it was cold
in Toronto,
that day.
okay?
Yes, it was.
And so I go on Amazon. I'm like, okay, but if you already know Prime shipping, if it's after 12 p.m., you can't get it the next day. You get it the day after. And I'm like, God, the day after? That's too far away. I need it now. So I thought to myself, I'm like, wait, there's a bookstore around the corner, like a 10-minute walk away. I'm like, why am I waiting for them? Let me just go to the bookstore. I take my parka that's literally down to my knees. I zip it up, take literally 2 gloves, 2 hats. I'm like, I'm going. And I stomp out with my big snow boots and I stomp my way to the bookstore. And I'm like, please, I just hope it has one of like the modern day reliable versions. And it does. And I'm like, purchased. I went, I got it. It was literally half an hour later from that conversation we had. I dropped the Bible on his desk and he's just like, okay. Yeah. That was fast.
Yeah.
And
it was like another moment of, oh my God, this guy just accepted my offer. It was one of those moments.
Yeah. Oh, I accepted it. As soon as he said that, like the sweat that just came out of my body, I'm just like, this is happening right now, because I literally saw it like happen before my eyes, because I personally know what reading the Bible has done for me. And the conversation that we had, that you can touch on this, was you said to me, my relationship with God is so good.
I knew you were going to talk about this.
That there's absolutely no way it could get any better. There's no way it could get any better. This was like while I was giving him the Bible.
I think you misheard what I said.
No, that's exactly what you said. Word for word. Word for word. Verbatim. He said, my relationship with God can't get any better. It's at its peak. There's no way it could get any better. And I said, you're completely wrong. And what was your thoughts when I said that?
Yeah, well, you actually made it nicer than how I meant it or how I thought it in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
In his head, you were thinking.
Yeah, in my head, I was like, biatch, please. Do you even know who I am?
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying to myself in my head. But what's coming out of my mouth is, I don't think you understand the relationship I have with God. And then I proceed to be like, if you only knew what we have going on right now, you would think I was lying. But what came out of my mouth was, I just don't think you understand the relationship that I have with God.
But you know what? I saw the stubbornness through it. I saw it. And I literally said, pretty much in so many words, I said, bet.
So I'm like, honestly, I'm looking at her and I appreciate her and I respect her. But, this is where the OG comes into play here.
This is where he said, sit down, little girl.
Yeah. I'm like, you're 24, you're young, you don't really know what's going on yet. It's not your fault. But this is not going to get better. It can't get better because everything has been perfect. If it can get any better than this, then it's heaven as far as I'm concerned, because it just can't. I really couldn't see how my life could be any better. I just could not picture it. Listen to the words that just came out of my mouth just now.
Yeah.
I could not picture my life being better. Like, who on this planet can say that, right?
Yeah.
But that's really what I felt. That's really what I believed.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought there's nobody who can tell me differently. And then you were like, actually what you said to me was like, you're like, okay. And when you said that to me, I felt like you were mocking me. And I was like,
because I was mocking you. I'm like, this guy's stupid.
Yeah. And in my mind, I was like, all right, just carry on.
The reason I was mocking you in that way was not because I thought he didn't actually have a strong relationship with God. I knew he did because we got to that point. The reason I was saying that is because I truly believe that your relationship can always get better with God. Even us now, we think it's amazing. It could get better.
Word.
Every single day could get better.
Word.
So when he was saying there's no way it could get better, I'm like, okay, sure.
Okay, so look, I've been wrong once or twice in my life before. I'm a human being.
Once or twice.
Listen, I'm a human being.
All right.
Right. So this might have been like maybe the second time that I've been wrong.
Okay.
Right. If I have to, when was this conversation? In January or February?
This was February.
Was it February? So we're talking
so.
like 5 months ago. Like,
yeah.
That's like yesterday in Jamaican time.
Okay.
Right. And so much has happened since then. Every day, like you and I talk every day, and it's just like literally mini miracle after mini miracle after mini miracle. And I was dead wrong on that statement that it could not get any better.
Yeah.
It took it to a whole new level.
Yeah.
I'm talking like, and I'm still the same person, right? I still don't like going to church. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going if I don't need to go, because I can pray, I can worship in my house, on the sidewalk, in a store, anywhere else. I have started to read the Bible a little bit more now. I can't quote scriptures in the Bible because I don't know it like that. But, I will now, something will come to me in a form of I'll use the word sign for the purpose of this conversation.
Yeah.
Where I know I need to go read something very specific, and I'll go read that something specific, and then when I read it, I'm like, get the F out of here right now.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then I got like my eyes well up with water. Some might call it tears, but it's
called
like,
crying.
No. Bad man don't cry.
Cute Jason
right?
cries.
Bad man don't cry. So
tears.
So, and I'm like, what's going on right now? Like,
oh my God. I just love the way guys freak out when they cry. It's like,
what is going on? So, this sort of stuff has been happening since Carissa's come into my life.
I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry, indeed. And, I actually seen how it's affected even my household. Like, even my wife, Lindsay, shout out Lindsay, and RJ, shout out RJ. Like, I'm seeing even transformations in them, and they don't even worship like I worship, but they're in the presence and they see it and they are learning and they want to know more. And the energy that is coming from above, wherever it's coming from, I see something happening to them as well. And I see that they are now impacting other people.
Look at that.
And the same process that I was on for the last 15 years up until January or February.
Yeah.
So everything that my life being perfect 15 years ago, that's what they're doing right now. That's what they're in right now. I see it.
Yeah.
And now I've taken it to another level personally, and I know it's just a matter of time before they do the same as well. They're enjoying that perfectness of what it is that I enjoyed for 15 years. And it's just amazing to see. And now RJ's coming home now and telling me that he had this conversation with this person. RJ's talking about the Bible with his friends now.
Wow.
RJ's 20 years old. 20-year-olds don't talk about the Bible. At least not in my day. They didn't anyway.
They did. You just didn't know them.
Right? Yeah, I just didn't know them. You're right. Yeah, they weren't smoking and drinking with us. Right? Not anything wrong with that. So, yeah, it's gone to another level. Like, it's gone to another level. And I think, in future episodes, it's going to start to unravel. And we're going to start to talk about, what that looks like.
The levels.
And the process. Our everyday process. When an issue comes up, we're going to talk about it like we always talk about it. And then we're going to do what we do. Yeah. And then we're going to talk about it a couple days later and tell each other how, look, it's gone.
Yep. Literally, I think I maybe told you, but at the end of December, I almost quit. I almost left.
Left what?
Like, our workplace.
Oh, okay.
And I had an offer from a friend who was literally like, I wasn't even like going to her like for this job. Like, she was reaching out to me and was saying, hey, come work for my company. Amazing offer. Way better than the situation that I was in at our workplace. And it was just, honestly, it was a phenomenal offer. And I felt over and over again that I wasn't supposed to go there. I wasn't supposed to leave. My time at our workplace was not done yet. But I was fed up there. I was like, I'm so done with this place. Not because there was anything wrong with it, but I was just like, I just want to change. Like, this isn't my career that I want to be in, right?
Well, and for the record, there was lots wrong with it. So
well, it
was a very negative environment. And when you're people like us who thrive on positivity, it sucks the soul out of you.
Well, those are Jason's words, not mine. So I almost left, but then I really felt a pull in me that I wasn't meant to leave. And I said to myself, I'm like, well, I feel like I've affected the people that I've been meant to affect here. Like, what am I still doing here? And then literally like 3 weeks later, this whole thing unravels with you. And I was like, okay. And then coronavirus came and changed up the game. And we all had to go work from home, right? And I had no idea how long that would last for. And I expected during that time that I was going to get laid off, which I did. But, me and you were talking daily at work, sharing stories, like getting deeper into the Bible, all these type of things. And then once, like, we left and we all went to our homes, I was like, all right, God, well, like, I mean, that's cool. I mean, I guess I have a new friend, and I guess I'll talk to him on WhatsApp every once in a while, and that's that.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, I had been talking to my friend Noma, but a couple weeks had passed since we all started being in quarantine. And, one day I talked to her and I just felt kind of like a fire inside of me. I'm like, Noma, like, we have to pray together every day. Like, I'm going to call you at 9:30 every day, because 9:30 was her time that she was available. And I was like, well, we'll pray together every morning. Let's start off our morning like that. She goes, okay, great. Basically, a couple days later, Jason messages me saying, I feel like there's a pull for everybody to pray for other people, because other people are going through a lot right now with this coronavirus. And that a way we're going to make it through this is we have to focus on praying for other people. And that's basically what me and Noma were doing every day. And I said, well, why don't you join mine and Noma's conversations? And he said, sure. So this leads to me and Jason basically hosting a podcast over the phone every single day of our lives. And we're talking every single day. And I had previously started a podcast the year before that, stopped shortly after. And it had always been on my heart to start a podcast again, but I just didn't know who I would be doing it with. And after me and Jason are having these daily conversations, literally an hour long, like exactly like these podcasts, this man has the nerve to say, hey, do you want to start a podcast together? And I said, hey, do you know that this has been on my heart for 2 years? And I literally haven't known who to start it with. And when he said it, it all made sense. And what was so funny was you were like, well, it's on my heart, but, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. I don't have the equipment. I don't blah, blah, blah. And then I said, well, guess who knows all that stuff and guess who has the equipment? Carissa DeCipio.
Yeah, so I'll give it to you from my side. How much time do we have?
We're at 46 minutes right now.
So very quickly, last year, 2019, probably in the summertime-ish, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I couldn't shake it. And I kept it to myself. And it was literally on my mind. Like, I would wake up in the morning, it's on my mind. I go to bed, it's on my mind. And then what that feeling was, so now I started to talk about it with close friends. I told my wife, told my son, and I started to tell very close friends of mine. And this feeling that I had, and I said it 1,000 times, I feel like I am supposed to talk to a lot of people. I don't know why. I don't know. It's just what I feel. It's unexplainable to me. But something keeps telling me that I'm going to be talking to a lot of people. So I tell my wife, she's like, well, that doesn't surprise me because you help people all the time, yada, yada, yada. I tell a couple of my closest friends. Some of them...
For the record, when you told me this at work, it didn't surprise me either.
Okay.
I was like, well, yeah, bro. Like, you're literally the most talkative person, like, in this entire place. Obviously, you're meant to talk to people.
And some of my close friends were like, well, yeah, that doesn't surprise me because Ray, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So I put it out there now. And now that I've put it out there, it's still on my mind. And I kind of leave it alone and I forget about it. Talking to Carissa now this year, and I wanted to bring it up to her a couple of days before I did, but she was talking about that she used to do a podcast and she works on some other stuff on the side as well, and I didn't want to take away from that. I was in it with her for what she was doing, and my mentality was I'm going to support that, and I'm not going to talk about what I was thinking the whole time. So I left it alone. And then one day we get on the phone, like every time we get on the phone, I don't know what I'm going to talk to her about. I really don't have anything to say today. And we start a sentence and then it's wind us up and let us go.
Yeah.
And then I think in the middle of that conversation, I just literally blurted out of my mouth. I wasn't planning on saying it. It just came out of my mouth. Hey, Carissa, do you want to start a podcast? And then I didn't hear it. I think I heard doom, 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 doom.
I think I literally threw my phone. I was on my bed and I threw my phone. I was like, pardon me. Because what's funny is my website now began as a podcast, right? And my parents don't really understand any technology, any of this stuff. So my mom still calls my website a podcast. and anytime I'm doing something media related, anytime I have a camera or I'm typing something or I have a microphone, she goes, "Oh, is this for your podcast?" I'm like, "It's a website. Yeah. I'm writing. Like, I'm. This has nothing to do with podcast." But over and over again for like a couple months, my mom was like, "So what are you doing for your podcast? Is this for your podcast? How's your podcast going?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, lady? I told you." And mind you, I tell her every single time, it's not a podcast. I'm not doing a podcast. "Oh, well, you know what I mean." Yeah. That's what she says.
Well, she wasn't asking about the website. She was literally asking about your podcast.
Okay, so literally when you said that, it all rushed to me, and I was like, no way.
Yeah.
So.
And then here we are. This is it. This is the beginning of what we believe God is put us together to do.
Yep.
This odd couple.
Quite literally.
Yeah. This very odd couple. And I don't know about you, but I've spoke to a couple of people who I trust their opinion and respect them, and they think that this is one of the most amazing things that I could be doing. So that was kind of a boost as well. Anyway,
that's amazing. People are just tired of hearing from me, to be honest with you.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
I told TK and he's like, "Okay, like finally." And I was like, "Okay, you could be a little bit more excited." And he's like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's okay." No, I'm just joking. He's very supportive.
So what you guys are going to get going forward is now that you've understood, now that you know where we were before our journey started and where we are now in our journey, and now today you understand how we met and how this friendship, partnership started, and where we are today. Going forward now, you're going to be living with us. You're going to hear what we talk about on everyday basis, about our own issues, problems, insecurities, anything. And you're going to see our process on how we handle that. And then you're going to see the outcome of that process, and you're going to see this over and over and over again. And if you have any feeling in you whatsoever, you're going to see that there is something to God, and you're going to see that you can do the same thing and same things that we are doing and live your best life given to you through God, positivity, and abundance.
Okay, real talk. Fasten your seatbelts.
Put them on. It's going to get crazy, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of Real Talk with Carissa and Jason. We really appreciate your support. If you made it this far, that means you must really love us. So we should all go out for dinner on Jason, okay? But before that, we really need you to follow us on Instagram at Carissa and Jason, and then go over to YouTube and subscribe to us at Real Talk with Carissa and Jason. Thanks, guys.